Hello and welcome to Quite the Ordinary podcast with Moonlight and West. Today I am joined by a very special guest going by the name of Nadia Sheikh. Welcome!
But I feel like that title really encapsulated what that period of time was for me. And it's just like banging your head against the wall constantly and nothing seems to work. So that's kind of like why the sentiment of the why I use that title for the EP, but also the title of the song, the actual song speaks about you can never please anyone, you can never please yourself. Like, it's kind of like wanting to break away from the expectations that people and society has of you, but feeling like you can't. So like the song starts, I want to rise, find the skies. I want to rate my feels and feel the fears in the moment. It's kind of like I want to live, I want to like experience things, I want to like sort of be free.
Hello and welcome to Quite the Ordinary podcast with Moonlight and West. Today I am joined by a very special guest going by the name of Nadia Sheikh. Welcome!
Hello, thank you.
Honestly, Nadia, I have so much I'd like to go through with you. And I'm going to start with your achievements because I need everyone who's watching and listening to know that we are joined by some serious talent. So let's begin with where you've performed at. Supporting Stereophonics across 19 dates at their European Kind tour, including sold-out arenas in Manchester and Cardiff. Warming up the crowd for PJ Harvey at Noches del Botinco. Botánica, Madrid. Gracing stages at festivals such as Glastonbury, Isle of Wight, Kendall Calling, Why Not, IFB Festival. Oh my gosh. And you've not only done that, you've also been on TV, performing on Spanish national TV, and your songs have been played on multiple radio stations such as BBC Radio 1, BBC 6 Music, Radio X, Radio 3 in Spain, Planet Rock, and you've been featured in Clash Magazine and Rolling Stone France. Whew. Nadia, the way I'm out of breath from having to just read the things that you've done and the things that you've achieved. Do you feel like you're still at the beginning of your career in a sense of like you still got so much more you want to do? Or are you just kind of settled in and relaxed in what you've achieved and you just want to continue that?
It's hard because like I never really like sit back and think, oh, I've done all these things. It's just kind of like I always want to do more.
Really?
So I'm really bad at looking back and like being, okay, you've done some cool stuff. Unless I'm like writing my bio, which is, I've written the bio in like my website and everything. But yeah, I am very much the what's next, like looking forward and what else can I do? So I'm proud of everything I've done.
Yeah.
But even though it's not the beginning of my career, I very much feel like there's still so much more I want to do.
Wow. Do you mind sharing what more you would like to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to fill some of those venues that I played with Stereophonics with my own crowds. Like I'd love to do that. I'd love to tour America. I'd love to release an album. There's so many things that I really want to do. There's so many venues I want to play. There's festivals I want to come back to and like play bigger stages. Like there's just so much I want to do. But yeah, I think a few of those there's a few venues I'd love to fill with my own audience, and then I'd love to do an album. Well, more than one, obviously, but
yeah, we want more than one. Nadia, we need more than one album.
The first one.
I mean, you've performed at some incredible places already, and to be on such big stages for such big festivals, Nadia, what is that feeling like to actually be there in person, live on a stage?
I love it. I adore it. Like, I love making music. I love writing songs, and I love being in the studio and being creative. But I live for being on a stage, and I don't know what it is. I think it's like the connection. It's hard to explain, but when I started making music, I started playing live. So I started playing covers or whatnot, and like I was writing songs, but I didn't have enough to play like an entire set of my own songs. So I just threw myself out there, and I was really shy. but I was just performing like an hour and like barely saying anything. But for some reason, I was just hooked to it. So yeah, there is something about just performing live.
How were you able to overcome those fears of being shy and nervous?
I think just in a way forcing myself to do it, like just doing it over and over again. There was something about it that I loved so much that was bigger than my fear or my anxiety about being on that stage. I don't really know how to explain it. I'd look at the floor for like the whole set, like say thank you, not even say my name, like not say the names of the songs. I was so shy. But I don't know why I just kept on doing it until you grow comfortable. You start to believe in, or like you start to sit into your skills and you feel more comfortable with what you're doing, more in control, which eases the tension. And I still get nervous sometimes, like a lot of times actually.
Naturally.
But I just love performing.
And how many performances did you do leading up to some of the bigger festivals such as Isle of Wight and Glastonbury?
Oh my gosh. I started performing when I was 13. That was my first gig ever, was when I was 13, and I never really stopped. From
13?
Yeah, well, I was doing like the odd gig there and like then, but since I want to say like 16 or 17, I think 17 to 18, I was pretty much performing every weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was, I don't have siblings, so it was me and my parents in the car. That was a weekend. Like we'd go to this wherever someone would call me to perform. Like I've played literally everywhere and anywhere, like venues, like pubs, like artsy places. Like my first ever gig was opening, proper gig, like not performance, but like my first proper gig was opening for they were opening this like art gallery in Spain, in the mountain, literally in the middle of like the mountain. It was like a house in the middle of the mountain.
What?
It was an art gallery, and it was January or February. I think it was February. It was freezing cold, and they set me out outside. That was my first ever gig.
Outside in the freezing
Yeah.
cold in the
And
mountains.
It was so cold. They had to give us the gloves, my words, oh my days.
Are you trying to say like those we're both struggling. I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, you don't.
Oh, I know.
The gardener's gloves. They had to give us, because my uncle was performing with me. I was 13, so he kind of like set up with me, and like we were going to play together, and we had to get the gardener's gloves, cut out the fingers to be able to play because it was so cold. Yeah,
I'm speechless.
that was my first ever gig. So my first ever public performance was like a high school thing.
Yeah.
Like, and then my teacher told me to enter like this competition they were doing in a thing called a Corte Inglés, which is like, I don't know, like John Lewis or something.
Okay.
So I played in front of like little audiences there and like a panel of judges, and I came second.
Ooh.
So they put me on my local newspaper, and people saw me there, and like the old ladies in the town were like, "Oh, you're the girl that sings," whatever. So they did this like this charity ball that they did every year, and they called me to come and perform, and that was my first ever like performance, and it was like 600-700 people. And I remember my legs shaking to the point of like playing the guitar, and like sat down and my knees were like literally shaking. I just could not stop them. I was like, what's going on? So I just kind of like went in deep. Sorry, that was a long-winded question.
That was a beautiful answer, because I cannot imagine what it would have been like to have like one of your first performances being in front of 600 to 700 people, and the leg shaking, very real. How were you able to prepare for what was going to be such a monumentous moment in your life?
I don't think I prepared.
I
just did it. Yeah. I
Really?
think that's what happens with me. Well, that's how my brain works. I don't think about it. I just go and do it. But you can never really be prepared, really. Like until you do your first gig, you're never going to prepare to gig. That's what people ask with like when we played Manchester Arena. They was like, "Oh my God, how do you prepare for Manchester Arena?" I was like, "You don't." And we found out we were playing it 2 days before, which is kind of nice because I didn't get time to like.
You did, yeah. You didn't have time to feel the anxiety, or like, well, it's in 2 days. I don't have much time to think about it.
Yeah.
2 days though. I mean, okay. How did you even get round to getting that job then? So
we'd already done the European tour with Stereophonics. We did 16 shows, and then we came back our last gig was in Germany, in Hamburg, and we came back to the UK and we went to Spain. Me and my band went to Spain to film for TV.
Yes.
The first time we did that. And then Stereophonics went and started their arena tour in the UK. And they had their support, an American band called The Wind and the Wave. But then COVID started happening and America was going to close the borders. So they sent... Well, they had to go back before they closed the borders. So I was hoovering a drum room doing a trial shift for a new job because I lost half of my job because I went on tour.
Wow.
And my phone had broken,
Sacrifice.
so I had one of these like little Vodafone like replacement phones. Literally 2 buttons. It was terrible. It was horrendous. And I get a phone call from the production team being like, "Oh, we might need you Saturday, Sunday in Cardiff." And I was like, "I'll speak to the band, but yeah, we'll be there." And then I get a text saying maybe Friday in Manchester. And I was like, "Friday tomorrow." And he was like, "Yeah." Not 2 days, one day. It was like Friday tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, we'll be there. Like, I'll call you later to confirm once I've spoken to them, but we'll be there. And I went online and it was Manchester Arena. And I was like, guys, we have to be there tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. That all happened so fast. Do you feel like when you started putting yourself out there, you started doing these performances and yeah, you just made yourself visible to the public eye? Was it then around that period where opportunities started to come your way?
I think it's just hard work. Like, I remember when I moved to London, I was playing every single week. Like, every single week I had like 1 or 2 gigs, whether it was an open mic or like a little gig in a bar in Camden. Like, acoustically, I didn't even have a band. Like,
wow.
I'd never had a band. I did 1 gig with a band before, and it was sort of like a one-off gig. But I'd never played with a band. So I was like, okay, I'm in London, I'm going to play. So it's just been about, it's really funny how like things happen, because one thing will open a little door and you'll do another thing that you think, oh God, like whatever, that's not going to go anywhere. Or you might even have a bad gig and you don't think anything of it, but then suddenly someone is in the audience, or you meet someone at the gig, I think like all the things I've done have sort of happened like that by me putting myself out there, doing my best job, like the best work I could do, whether it's music or playing a gig or being nice to people. Like,
underestimated, being nice. Just be nice.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, then people will give you opportunities, and if you prove that you are worth the opportunity, they will give you another one, or they might recommend you to someone else. So it's always been, I've never had like a label that would open the door for me, or like, yeah, it's all been, I don't want to say it's just been me and my hard work, because that's not true, because I have my band and my family, and I've had people in my team as well. I got a publisher, and I've had great lawyers and people that really believe in me, but it's also been the other people that are not part of the official team that you might meet that still give you a chance, or that will go and get you gigs. So there's so many people that sort of are part of those opportunities, whether they're direct or not, if that makes sense.
That's real. No, that makes super clear sense. And how did you come around finding your band and playing with them?
Uni.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the best thing I got out of uni. Yeah, we've been playing together for so long, and it was gonna be like, it was random as well, because I'd played with Rowan, my bass player, in some of like the uni like workshops or whatever, and I knew George because he used to, well, like uni halls, right? So I knew George, something like that. But I got a gig offered by a friend, a guy I met, again, playing like a random gig somewhere. He was like, oh, I'm doing my headline show for my EP, and do you want to support? And I was like, yeah, great. And it was at the Bedford. And then I was like, wait, is this a band gig or like just acoustic? And I was like, yeah, bring your band. And I was like, yeah, okay.
I'm going to need Rowan and George, please.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have George. I had another George on guitar, and then we had another guy from uni called Lloyd.
Okay.
And I was like, guys, I've got this one gig. Do you want to do it? Whatever. It's going to be one gig.
Is that the one-off gig?
Yeah, so this was the
one-off gig that you done
no,
with
no.
the band?
No,
Okay.
this was back in Spain before.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, that was like a different thing. No, but I was like, it's only going to be one gig. Like, I got offered this, whatever. And they were like, yeah, sure. So we did the gig, And then because I was on listings or whatever, another promoter contacted me. He was like, oh, we saw you play this. Do you want to play this other gig? And I was like, guys, I've got another gig. Do you want to do it? and everyone was like, yeah, sure, apart from the drummer, Lloyd. And then George came in. And I actually remember being in a house party, a uni thing, in Rowan's house. And I remember Rowan sat George next to me just to like force the conversation to see if I was like going to get him into like a trial rehearsal or something. And we did it. And we've been playing ever since.
Wow. So how many years has it been now?
God. 8, 9?
Wow. That's beautiful.
That's insane. I can't believe that. That's like... You don't stop to think about these things, right?
Yeah.
I love those guys so much.
This is the moment to think about it now, Nadia, on Quite the Ordinary podcast of Moonlight and West.
I can't believe, like, I just hadn't thought, like, 8 or 9 years. Because it wasn't first year that we started playing. It was in uni. I think it was second year.
Wow.
So it must have been, like,
and what's
my
the
age.
What's the difference between playing in a band and playing acoustic?
It's very different. People used to say like, oh, are you not like scared of going up on stage by yourself? And at first, when I started playing with the boys, I felt so much more at ease playing by myself than with them, just because that's what I've been doing since I was 13. So I'm in control. I know what I'm doing. If I mess up, I can pick myself up. If you're playing with other people, it's much harder to like, you have to really know each other and know the songs. And I felt way less in control.
Yeah.
So I always felt like acoustic was like my place, but obviously we've been playing for so long, I don't have that feeling anymore. But it's very different. I love both so much because you can't have that sort of like powerful sound by yourself. I mean, you can, but not. It's not like having a band, and also you're not sharing that energy with anyone else. But I also love the straight down the line, super intimate connection you get when it's just you. There's something about it. It's like there's nothing else. There's no one else to hide behind. There's no extra sounds. It's just you and the audience. So I feel like it's a more conversational thing, whereas with a band, it's solid. I don't know how to explain it.
It feels like you need to put a lot of faith and trust into the whole band, really, to deliver what is like a beautiful song. For example, let's talk about your EP, Neverending Trial. What a masterpiece, a 6-song EP. I can really tell you put your heart and soul into that, Nadia. You talk about a lot of deep topics such as, oh my God, heartbreak, depression, anxiety. What is it like putting your heart into an EP like that?
I think for me, music and especially like words is like it's like therapy, and I'm sure you get that with like probably everyone that you interview. But I find that I understand myself and my feelings better when I put them out in that way. In fact, I've written songs that have genuinely helped me understand what was going on in my brain.
Wow, that's powerful.
And I've written songs where I've realised what I was writing about afterwards. It's really strange. Like the first time that happened, I was really young and I really didn't realise. But I've noticed that it like keeps on happening at a lesser level, because now that I've written more songs and I've grown as a songwriter, I can use the tools in a more like tailored way. If you want to, I'm not sure if that's the right way to explain it, but it's cathartic. It's like you sort of need to get it off your chest, and it's like journaling.
And do you journal outside of songwriting?
Yes.
Okay, wow. So have you ever incorporated anything you've written in your journal into a song?
Not directly, but feelings, yes. And like situations. So like the things I might journal about are the things that I might also need to get off my chest in a song. But the songwriting came first.
Okay.
So journaling for me is a thing from 2-3 years ago, maybe. Whereas I've been writing songs since I was like 12.
Yes, it's young age.
Yeah, but topics and stuff like that, yes. But not so much direct quotes. I don't really read my journals back. I just write them and that's it.
Just to get it off your chest.
Yeah, I just like, that's it. Like, I've got a box full of like notebooks and I'm like, I should just ban them.
Yeah,
but,
same.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, whatever. In fact, I have gone back to a couple of journals when I started journaling, like, and then I did it for a while, and I came back to it, and I was like, wow, I was feeling things at
Yeah.
this point in my life. Yeah. Whereas with my notes on my phone, or like my songbook, or like songs I've started and never finished, I do go back to that a lot.
Got you.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And Neverending Trial, I mean, the title in itself almost feels like quite torturing, Nadia. It's like Neverending Trial. It's like you can never finish something, like continuously trying and just always failing. Like, that's how the title feels like to me. I'd love to know what your thought process was behind writing, like creating that title. And obviously it's the title of one of your songs as well. But I'd love to know why that title.
That I'm so glad that comes across, because that is part of like the meaning of it. I feel that so that is the name of the song. The song was written first, obviously, and then I don't usually title. Well, I say that, but I like to title EPs with something that isn't the name of a song. But I feel like that title really encapsulated what that period of time was for me. And it's just like banging your head against the wall constantly, and nothing seems to work. So that's kind of like why the sentiment of the why I use that title for the EP, but also the title of the song. The actual song speaks about you can never please anyone, you can never please yourself. Like, it's kind of like wanting to break away from the expectations that people and society has of you, but feeling like you can't. So like the song starts, I want to rise, find the skies. I want to rate my feels and feel the fears in the moment. It's kind of like I want to live, I want to like experience things, I want to like sort of be free. And there's a line in the second verse that is kind of like, I'm colouring by numbers and I know that I must excel. So it's kind of like you have to be perfect. You have to always do. And I feel like in a way that is also linked to maybe being female. Just what's expected of you, and like you have to be correct, you have to be polite but not too nice, but you have to be really nice, but all these things, and you can never please anyone. And in the end you start to lose yourself. So it feels like a never-ending trial, because if you're too polite, it's wrong because you're too polite. If you're a bit rowdy, you can't be too rowdy. Like, so it's a bit that sort of
like a constant battle almost. Like, where do you kind of fall into place? Where do you sit, and what can you even do? Like, as you said at the beginning, like, it's almost like banging your head against the wall. That energy really comes across. But what I love is that right after Never-Ending Trial in your EP, you've got Don't Give It Up, which is like, it feels like a little bit of relief, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, okay, Never-Ending Trial, but don't give it up.
hang in there. Yeah.
Was it intentional to put like a more uplifting lyrically song after
I never actually thought about that, so definitely not.
Really?
Yeah, I was thinking more sonically than I was messaged there.
Because listening through, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna give up now.
No, that's good. No, I not intentionally in that sense. I was thinking more how the EP flowed sonically at that stage, but that's great to know. I'm glad that's having that effect.
Intuitively, it fell into place nicely.
Like, here's a slap, but it's okay. Yeah.
And how is it? Do you order so you said sonically then? Is that how you order your songs within an EP?
I think it's like about, I like, so my music is quite eclectic in a way, so it ebbs and flows. The songs are quite different. They sound like cohesive, but they're all quite different.
True.
So for me, it's important that even like a set list in a gig, like that it takes you like sort of on a journey. So it's not like you can't have all the fast songs at the beginning and then all the slow, because then it doesn't, you need to balance it out and like make it enjoyable. It's like a film, I guess. Like you have to structure it so it's a journey rather than just a song. So I think of that in that way as well, and obviously what are going to be like the strongest songs, which are like the slower songs, like maybe are they all singers, are they not, like how do you put that so it makes sense as a body of work rather than just random songs.
One thing that I love about the way that you create music is that I find a theme in a lot of your songs that there's this build up, and then eventually like the drums come in or the guitar comes in, and it's like this big finale, and it feels like an explosion, almost like a release of emotions finally when you build up to the chorus. What is your songwriting process like that makes you feel like that?
That's cool you say. I am a sucker for a climax, I love dynamic music, and I think all of us in the band do. Like, we all like songs and sort of music that makes you feel stuff, like makes you feel throughout the song.
We can feel it, trust me. I feel like I'm going on a roller coaster. It's like going up stealth and it's like and I'm like, ah!
That's great because that is sort of the intention, and I think in a way it's also dictated a lot by how I write the songs, because usually I'll write them acoustically, like, well, usually, not all the time. Either on the guitar or the piano, and then the arrangement is sort of built around the track. So there is potentially that default of maybe starting with a guitar and a vocal, just like bringing it right in and then building from there. But yeah, I love dynamic music, and I love songs that suddenly like, oh, where did that go? And then suddenly it's back. Like, I love that.
I love that surprise as well. And in all of your songs, actually, like, what I keep on saying what I love about your music, because I'm a big fan, Nadia. I'll be honest, I'm a big fan. In your songs as well, what I love is that you have real instruments incorporated into your music. That's such an important factor to me when listening to music. Of course, like, I love a beat, I love some production, but like a real instrument, like hearing them raw, it's so impactful for me as someone who really appreciates music, especially live music like yourself. Is that, do you do that on purpose, or is that just because of your own talents of being able to play on the piano and guitar that you've just implemented it?
I mean, I think I am introducing more electronic production elements. There are more, for example, in Neverending Trial than there were in the previous EPs. But the music, I grew up on the Beatles. I grew up on like Queen, ABBA, like Oasis. I love real instruments, and I love guitar music.
Me too.
And I love the sound and the feeling of an instrument, and that's what I use. Those are my tools. Like, I sit and write on a guitar or a piano, so it's really important for me to have those elements. For example, we're gonna record soon again, and we're going to go and record drums, because there's great software right now for drums, and most people wouldn't be able to tell, but I want real drums. Like,
the authenticity.
Yeah, I need that. And I was a bit purist, you could say, like, I don't know, a few years ago, I was like, no, because I make guitar music and it's like indie rock, and it needs to be like no like backing tracks and no this and no like too much like synths or whatever. And now I'm like, just serve the song and evolve. And I love being creative and like growing. So it's probably naivety, but there are more elements of more modern production in the last couple of EPs than there were in my first EP, for example. Yeah.
And your band obviously plays a big part in bringing those instruments to life on your tracks. How does a song get created when working with your band? Do you go with them with an idea, with the lyrics, with the whole concept down already, and they just elevate it? Or do you like to go to them and actually start from the beginning?
Both. They are part of what Nadia Sheikh is. Like, the sound is our sound. I'll never say it's my sound. It's the Nadia Sheikh sound, yes, because that's my name and it's my project, but they are part of that. We've been playing together for so long, and we work on everything together, like all the music together. So yeah, there's been times where I might have come with, like, I call it vomit demos.
Vomit demos?
Yeah, because I'm like, all the ideas out. Like, I'll be like, I've written this song, and I'll be like, blah, 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 all these like ideas, and they're quite messy and like all over the place, and I'll just send them that, and we'll work from there and like strip back the bad stuff. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. That's pretty crap, but that's interesting. And we'll build from there. There's other times where I've come in, like, there's a song called Memories that I wrote last year, and I was really excited about it. So I showed it to them, and we were going to work on something else that day that we met, like 2 days after I wrote the song. But instead of doing that, we just went straight into building that song together.
Wow.
And there's even been times where I've written a song and I've just sent them like a piano demo, and then Rowan or George, either of them, will have said, oh, like, can you send me like the stems, because like I'm hearing something, and they'll send me something back production wise that is exactly like they just got it so right, and then we'll build from there together. So it's very, very collaborative, and we all have ideas, and we all like challenge each other with ideas, and yeah, like we work on everything together.
That's so beautiful that you have that kind of a relationship with them. And part of that relationship, obviously, as you said, comes with positive criticism. You've mentioned, sometimes they'll tell you, that's rubbish, that's a little bit bad, but nah, that's not good. How do you deal with that kind of, I won't say negativity, but that positive criticism? Because obviously they want what's best for you. How are you able to maneuver and deal with that?
I think because we know each other so well, and we've worked together for so long, we're past that point, but we also trust each other. We trust each other's talent and each other's ideas. So, also, I don't think any of us are like too like precious with ourselves. Like, we will take the criticism rather than get all diva-like or like, but we're also very strong in our ideas. So, for example, if I don't like something, but they're trying to push it forward, I'll be like, okay, let's run with it, let's try it. But if I really, really don't like it, I'll be like, I don't like it. That's and the same thing the other way. Like if I have a bass idea, for example, and I send it to Rowan, he's like, then he's a bass player. So I won't have something on the song that I really don't like, but also I'm not going to force him to do something that he really, really dislikes. So we have a really good balance and like a really good harmony working together. And I think we all respect each other a lot, and I think that's important.
I love that so much. I love that you've got respect for one another, and especially since you've been working for such a long time, the fact that you've been able to not only maintain but evolve and flourish in this relationship with one another is so beautiful to see. How does your rehearsals come to life when you're on a live stage? Do you feel like it's the same kind of feeling, or is it completely different because there's a huge crowd in front of you?
Oh, very different. Yeah, very, very different. The pressure's on when you're in a gig because you can mess up in rehearsal and no one's gonna know.
True.
But it's very different. And before we used to rehearse a lot more, but now George moved. So it's much harder to get 3 of us in a room. So now our demo sessions are on Zoom most of the time.
Wow.
Because it's more convenient. But yeah, like it's. I think in a rehearsal you're preparing for that moment, which is the gig. So it's just about going over and over again, like breaking down little things that don't work or need improving. It's very different.
What would you say those little things are?
Parts sometimes, where someone comes in or comes out, like if something's not really tight, like all those little things.
Okay. And you play guitar and piano. How did you learn to play those instruments?
I was self-taught on guitar. So when I was 7, I wanted to play guitar. My uncle's a guitarist. He plays loads of instruments and he's a musician. And I admired him so much. And he used to spend a lot of time in our house when I was around that age. So I actually remember him like in the evening just playing his guitar, and I was like, I want to do that. And I loved music. I was obsessed with the Beatles when I was like 7. So I asked for one, I got one, and he started to teach me like a couple of chords, but I had no patience, so I didn't do it. I didn't learn it, and I put it away, and it stayed there. And then when I was 11 or 12, I got obsessed with Avril Lavigne. And my parents took me to see her for my birthday to Manchester Arena, actually. Yeah, full circle.
The full circle moment.
Yeah. And I just saw her there, and I was like, because I was obsessed to the point where I couldn't sleep at night because I could hear the songs in my head.
No way.
It was I physically remember, like, I think I'm just a bad sleeper, to be honest. So I tend to have insomnia every now and then. But I just couldn't, I closed my eyes in the night and I'd like had the songs like running in my head. I was like, oh. So they took me to see her, and I just saw her there and I was like, I want to do that. I just went like, I want to be a musician. So I picked up the guitar from the cupboard and I started to teach myself. And then my uncle, whenever I'd see him, he'd like give me, learn this chord, but he lives quite far away from where we live. So it wasn't like Zoom times where you just like, so he gave me this book of chords that he made. So with that and like just internet, I just taught myself.
Wow.
And then I decided one day I wanted to be a singer. and I never sung in my life. So that was interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I just went to my mum and I was like, the guy in the kitchen, she was making dinner. I was like, Mum, I want to be a singer. And she was like, great, sing to me. And I was like, I was like completely paralyzed. I was like, I'm going to rehearse a bit more, I'll be back. And I'd go and like practice a song and come in and I just couldn't physically sing to her.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
So wait, when did you... Okay, that's so interesting. So you actually picked up the guitar and started playing that before you actually even wanted to sing then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah.
So then, wait, so when did you discover, oh wait, I can actually sing? This actually works.
I don't even know. I don't think I don't know. I think I just went, I want to do that. And I was like, I don't know, actually. I don't think I thought I was any good.
Crazy. Oh my God. Because then
yeah.
you would have had to end up as one of your guitarists then. You would have just been playing guitar instead of actually being like a full package musician and singer.
Yeah. To be honest, I actually don't know why I decided I wanted to sing. I probably just liked it and wanted to, I don't know, actually.
Oh my God. Wait, where was there a moment that your mum was like, Nadia, you can actually sing?
Probably. I don't think they told me, like, but they did encourage me. Like when I did eventually like sing, she was like, okay, cool. Yeah, just keep going kind of like thing. And then they probably realized that I was all right. I do remember my dad at one point kind of saying, because I was like really into the music and I was like, that's what I'll do. Like I'd like come home, like do my homework and then just sit on my guitar.
Wow.
And I remember like watching TV and still like playing like my chords. Yeah. So I don't know. I just loved it. I just really, really liked it. And I remember my dad once kind of being like we'll support you in doing music if you want, but like you have to be serious about it. Like if you're serious about it, we'll support you kind of thing. So I was like, ooh, pressure's on kind of thing. But it just meant that they were okay. So if you want to do piano lessons, like we'll find a way of getting you piano lessons. Or
I was going to say, when did piano come into play then?
That was after. So when I entered that competition thing that my teacher told me to, I got to the final, and I came second. But the judges were like, "Oh, get some like music lessons. Like you should learn piano as well." So then I went to the school, like the local music school, and I started doing piano. But they taught classical, so I was like, I'd like sit down for like 2 minutes, try to practice like my classical piece, literally last 2 minutes, and then I'd go and try to play on the piano what I was playing on guitar, like the chords and stuff. So I was in a way teaching myself chords because no one was teaching me the chords. And then I just went to my teacher and I went like, look, I love you, but you either give me something pop or I'm just gonna have to quit because I can't, like it. I like it, but it's not. So we came to a compromise and she would teach me one classical piece and one pop piece.
Okay.
So that's how kind of I started.
Do you still remember the classical pieces to this day?
I don't remember them by heart, but I teach as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What piano?
And guitar and singing.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Nadia, you're the full package, man.
London is expensive, man.
That's exceptional.
So I do classical still. So it was a great skill to learn because now it feeds me, basically.
Yeah. Wow. And okay, that's brilliant. And Nadia, you've performed in Spain. You've performed on national TV in Spain as well. You've been featured on Spanish radio, and it's not a coincidence. You're obviously Spanish. Tell me, when did you move to the UK from Spain?
So I'm half Spanish, half British. So I do have both nationalities. My dad's British. And I was always kind of like coming and going. In like my parents traveled a lot for work, and my grandparents live in Leeds. So I was kind of like always coming and going, and I was very much like halfway. Not in terms of like living. I lived in Spain, but like we used to watch like the BBC like at home and stuff. But I moved to London when I was 18.
Wow. And were you early on in your life writing songs more in Spanish, considering you lived there?
No, more in English, which is weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's because most of the music I was listening to was in English.
Makes sense. And what would you say are the differences between performing in Spain and performing in the UK?
I think the audiences are very different in a way, just culturally. Like it's two different countries. Like, and we found that a lot in the Stereophonics tour because we went to so many countries. The audiences are very different and their reactions are very different.
I'd love to know an example of one country where you just did not expect the reaction at all.
France was amazing.
France.
Well, I guess in a way you could sort of expect it. I don't know. France was so, like, they were amazing. We did 2 nights at the Olympia in Paris, and they were so nice. The audience was just, like, there for it.
Oh.
There's other countries that are colder, but that's just the culture. So we played a couple of gigs where I thought, oh, maybe they didn't like it as much. And then we sold so much merch. Or people would come after the gig and like come and say hi and like say they loved it, but their actual reactions were so much colder. Whereas in Italy, everyone was like cheering so much, and my then guitarist was Italian as well, so they were like there for it. So it's very different, and in a way between the UK and Spain is very different as well. Also, when I'm playing in Spain, I play a lot of songs in English, so it might be harder to connect with people because of the language. But then again, it's my home, so I have that connection, and I speak to the audience in Spanish, so it's different, but the core is the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love your songwriting. I love how vivid it is. It's very easy to envision what you're trying to say. I'd love to know, what is your songwriting process, and when do the best ideas come to you? Do they come to you like in a shower, in the car? Like, I'd love to know.
The worst points.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think I've evolved a lot as a lyricist. Once, I think as you get older, you sort of understand more things and you live more things. That's one thing. But also, the more you write songs and you use words, you sort of learn how to say things differently, or say things in the way you want to say them rather than the way they just come out. Also, what you're listening to. Like, I remember I got into Fontaines DC like when they came out, and just suddenly like opening up that sort of more poetic kind of like beat kind of stuff, and you start to dig into that kind of like literature, and so it's about growing and like learning in those areas. Yes, I've had loads of lyric ideas in the car and in the shower that I've forgotten because I couldn't write them down.
No.
But someone told me it's because, like, apparently, don't quote me on this because I don't actually know the science, but when you're doing something so mechanical, like having a shower or like driving, you open up a part of your brain on the creative side, because you're doing something that doesn't require so much brain power. That opens up, so more ideas come in.
Wow.
Something like that. Don't quote me on it, but someone told me something like that, which makes sense.
No, that doesn't, because like you're almost just so relaxed that ideas just flow more easily.
I think it's because you're on autopilot. So, for example, I think when I'm driving, it's because I'm really alert, because if suddenly something happened, I know I'd brake. But I am doing something that is very mechanical and I can't do anything else. I think that's what it is for me. Like, I can't hold my phone. I can't do something else while I'm doing that thing. So if I'm doing a phone call, or like I'm doing something and I can still look at my phone, or I can like fiddle or fidget or do, then you're doing something else. But when you're driving, I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So it's either I listen to the radio, or I think. Or I think while I'm listening to the radio, which has also happened loads of times.
And you come up with lyrics.
Yeah, because you just start thinking. And I read something the other day, it's like, we need to be more bored.
We need to be more bored. I completely agree. I feel like we're so overstimulated all the time.
Totally.
And it's so easy to feed into different distractions. Oh my gosh, I love that you've said that. Thank you so much for sharing that. How are you able to cut off distractions, Nadia?
It's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna say I do it, but like, for example, just if I go for a walk, for a moment taking my headphones off and actually just doing the thing, which is just walking and sitting with my thoughts. And before I had like Bluetooth headphones or like noise cancelling headphones, I used to do that all the time. I used to like sit in the tube and like come up with lyric ideas, because I was just sat there and I'm like, whatever. Or like before there was like Wi-Fi at stations or stuff, like I'd read a book, or I'd like write like little lyrics and stuff like that. And I think we are so overstimulated that we are cutting that off a lot. And there's so much to do as well. There's always stuff to do.
Yeah, all the time.
So I think so I read that recently about being bored, but also there's this artist called Jenny Beth. She had a band called, I don't know if the band's still active or not, called Savages. And on Instagram, she every now and then she'll share like things I noticed, and it's really nice because it's just like a list of like little things that she noticed.
Wow.
And one of the things was like, if I have to wait, going forward or whatever, if I have to wait in a queue, I'm not gonna look at my phone, or I'm not gonna listen to anything. Like little waits, just wait. Like if you like, for example, if we're at the supermarket, if there's like 2 people in front of me, I'll pull out my phone. You just don't even sit there and like.
It's so subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah, you might have the biggest idea of your life. You might meet your best friend. You don't know what's gonna happen. You might avoid like, I don't know, an accident or something just by being present in the moment. And we don't do it. So that's another thing that kind of caught my eye recently, and I'm like, that's good. Being less on social media, actually.
Underestimated. That was honestly beautifully worded, Nadia, and I couldn't agree more. Thank you for sharing that. I love that so much. Has there been anything else that you've learned, and I'll take it back musically, within your musical career that you've learned now about yourself, which you would want to tell your younger self?
Ooh.
For example, don't go on your phone when you're in the queue and there's 2 people in front of you.
I think, it sounds so cliche, but stop pressuring yourself and enjoy the journey. And also allow yourself to be creative. Just allow yourself to be creative.
Real. And allow yourself to be creative. Could you break that down more for someone that doesn't know how to approach that yet?
Yeah, so I for the most part of my career, I had no team. Self-managed, like, I did work with a manager for a little bit. Didn't work out, that's fine. But I was putting so much pressure on myself. And I still do it, but less, in a different way now. But I put so much pressure on myself. And I always felt like I was doing not enough. So I was working myself to the ground, being really, like, talking really negatively to myself.
Oh, no.
And also because the thing I love the most is making the music, I would like, no, I need to send that email instead of like sit down on my piano for half an hour and just do nothing. Just play for fun. So I wouldn't allow myself to do the thing I love the most because I thought that I had to be working, or I had this pressure of doing stuff. So I'd just tell my younger self, it's like, just don't be silly.
Enjoy the journey.
That's where it comes from.
Wow, beautifully said, Nadia. Thank you. Nadia, we've got this thing that we do on Quite the Ordinary podcast with Moonlight and West, where I ask you one quote from your whole discovery that you love the most.
Really?
And I'm going to give you a second to think. Producer Dara is very kindly going to hand me the binder. And you can write it down in our legendary binder. Thank you.
Oh, my days.
We've already got 2 in here. You're going to be our 3rd. And
Do I need to read it out?
Yeah, you're going to read it out to us, then you're going to write it down. And if you'd like, God, I can read you some quotes from the other guests we've had.
Yeah.
All right, so this is from Nesta Stefan. She said, educate yourself, discipline yourself, love yourself like anybody loves you. Teach yourself how to make a dream come true. Reminder, it's not only about you. That's from Nesta.
That's so nice.
That's so nice, isn't it? I agree. And then we've got our previous one from I Am the Artist. And she says, don't forget they sell out for a salary, watch and pretend, and they covered in the eulogy. So.
Oh, that's a good. Pressure's on.
There's no pressure whatsoever. Whatever quote comes to mind. It can even be from your new EP as well. I'm going to give you the binder so you can actually feel the energy of all the other people that have written quotes from their own songs. And in your own time, when you've got a quote from your whole discovery, please write it down in our famous Quite the Ordinary podcast binder.
I'm going to use a quote from my song Quiet.
Okay.
It's a song I wrote. Well, this can apply to anyone, right? The quote is going to apply to anyone who feels like they don't have a voice. But I wrote this song because sometimes as a woman, I feel like as women, we don't have a voice, or our thoughts or ideas can or are undermined. So the final chorus in the song is quiet, don't keep it quiet. Just break your silence and speak your mind. So I think that's just
very
that's
good. Very good. I love it.
So just write it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Write it down. And then after we'll put the date and your name underneath.
I feel like it's cool, girl, writing the date.
Can I have a look?
Yes.
Thank you. Wow. That looks beautiful. Okay, do you know what, Nadia? Read it out for us.
Yes. So it's quiet, don't keep it quiet. Just break your silence and speak your mind.
Beautiful. Do exactly that. A quote from Quiet from your EP, Neverending Trial. Beautiful. Nadia, thank you so much for coming on to Quite the Ordinary podcast with Moonlight West. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your beautiful quote. I'm sure many people will be implementing it into their lives. I surely will. It's a fantastic one. And sending you high vibrations and lots of success, Nadia. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.